Hi everybody, my name is Megan. Guess how old I am? I bet you were wrong. And, probably, you won't believe that I am over 30 years old now. But this is true. Although in fact, I am only 16. Confused? Let me try to explain everything to you. It all started more than 15 years ago. At that time, I just finished school and failed university entrance exams. For my parents, this was virtually the apocalypse. They've always set high hopes on me and really wanted me to become a cool journalist. In the long run, when they realized that all their dreams and hopes had collapsed and their prominent daughter was not as talented as they had thought, they felt really upset. To be honest, I don't even know why my parents idealized me so much. Personally, I have always considered myself an ordinary girl who is neither better nor worse than others. It turned out that my parents had deceived themselves, but were upset with me. They were not just upset. They said that from now on, I would have to go to work and contribute to the family budget, and from their side, there would no longer be any financial assistance. That is, they would not give me pocket money anymore. Basically, my parents made me fend for myself. After that, I lost any hopes concerning my future, because earlier I was going to expand my knowledge in some subjects within a year and still go to college. But now the words of my parents meant that I could forget about tutors, exams, and universities. Of course, it's hard to find a job when you're 16. No one even hired me as a waitress or a cleaning lady. In the long run, the owner of one cafe took pity on me and gave me the job of a dishwasher. I didn't see any prospects for myself. I didn't see any future. It seemed to me that I would spend my whole life in the stinking kitchen with a simmering machine that turned dirty dishes into clean ones. I felt sad and was apathetic towards everything. I was a dishwasher, and this was my way. After a couple of months in our cafe, a waitress didn't show up for a night shift, so my boss suggested me to work instead of her. Of course, I agreed. Unlike a dishwasher, a waiter gets tips, and sometimes this can be very good money. Oh, and at night, the cafe is usually not very crowded, so I was sure that I could handle it. And actually, I was right. The shift was very easy. There were no more than 2 customers at the same time in the cafe. In fact, they were quite polite and not picky. Late at night, the cafe was empty, and the cashier, together with the cook, decided to take a nap while I was sitting in the hall and looking through vacancies in the latest newspaper. Well, what could I do? Deep inside, I was slightly hoping that I would find a better job even without education. Then an elderly man came into the cafe and ordered a double espresso. I wanted to bring him a menu and wake up my colleagues, but he said that this was not necessary. He would drink coffee and leave. Well, the customer is always right. I continued to leaf through newspapers and write down in my notebook some phone numbers from various ads. After some time, a visitor called me over and asked what I was hoping to find in the newspaper. We got into a conversation, so I told him how I had failed entrance exams and described the reaction of my parents. I also complained that now I was forced to work there as I had no other choice. My new friend sympathized with me and said that he could help me. He introduced himself as a bioengineer and asked if I had heard anything about freezing people before. I replied that I had seen some kind of program about it on TV, but that seemed to be something really far-fetched. Then the bioengineer said that he had developed his own scheme of freezing living organisms and had already conducted successful experiments on mice as well as rabbits, and it was high time to try the same on humans. He suggested to me to try this method on myself for quite a good fee, considering that I was a teenager. He offered to freeze me for 15 years and promised to give $1,000 at the moment of signing the contract and $15,000 after my unfreezing. So I decided that since I could not fulfill myself in my current generation, maybe in the next one I would be able to do it. In any case, this was a very interesting experience and quite good entertainment. All I had to do was agree with my parents so that they signed all the required papers. It was most unreal, but I could do it. Just do not ask me how it happened. A week later, the bioengineer handed me $1,000 and said that I had 2 weeks to prepare for freezing. I decided to spend this time with friends. We went to a mountain hotel and had an unforgettable time there. When our holidays came to an end, we agreed to meet after 15 years and 1 day. So, I have been frozen for 15 years. It's been a month since I was unfrozen and came back to life. During this time, my younger sister Linda was born, and now we are almost the same age. Of course, my parents have changed a lot, and I'm afraid to admit it to myself, but they got very old. When you live with a person seeing him or her every day, you do not notice most of the changes in his or her appearance. But in my case, I saw them at 35 and at 50. The difference is quite significant, and this turned out to be the biggest blow for me. I was also very glad that I had a sister, but she and I were like strangers to each other. I didn't know that she was born. I didn't see how she was growing, and she has never heard anything about me as well. My parents decided to keep silent because they were afraid I would die during unfreezing. I don't even know if we can ever become nearest and dearest people to each other. And now I'll tell you about how I reacted to the surrounding world after 15 years, and how the world perceived me. This was something incredible. Everything around, and even my area, was built up with new houses and districts. There appeared many new roads and shops in the neighborhood. When I went to the store alone for the first time, I could not find my way home. However, I was no more than 500 meters away from the place where I lived. And during my sleep, there was a huge leap forward in the development of technology. I still have not learned how to use all these newfangled smartphones and tablets, but this is a real miracle. 15 years ago, I couldn't even imagine that the internet would become so accessible and stable, and that it would be possible to communicate with my friends from anywhere in the world via video calls. In addition, all these social networks and instant messengers erase all sorts of boundaries. Now I can even send a photo to my sister, and in a couple of seconds, she will see it. Apart from that, I don't have to go to school to find out the address of my former classmate. I can open Facebook and find it in a couple of minutes. That's just brilliant. But there is a flip side to this progress. People began to constantly hang out with their gadgets and even look at the screens of mobile phones while walking. 15 years ago, I watched a sci-fi movie where zombies were moving along the streets holding some mini screens in their hands. And then my friends and I were laughing at the plot. And who would have thought that 15 years later it would become a reality? In fact, I'm very scared to see all this, because even the very friends who used to laugh at this film together with me are now zombified by their gadgets. I hope that when I fully learn how to use my iPhone, I will not become dependent on it. Apart from that, I would like to talk about modern fashion and beauty. The beauty industry, of course, also took a great step forward, and this is very cool, but I do not understand why everyone is so attracted by huge, literally huge lips. Why? Who says that it's beautiful? Also, I am shocked by girls' eyelashes that are 1 meter long. Now, cheekbones and eyebrows are made. The shape of the nose is changed with a single injection. Nails and even hair are artificially grown. Before, we used to laugh at it when we saw such stories in films. It seems that the world has turned into all those comic episodes that just made us smile. And now it's not funny for us. Today, we are worshiping all this. Well, I can't but mention anything about people who have become completely different. Before, everyone was more sensitive and kind. Now, even people's looks have become different. They are somehow colder. I was also shocked by the fact that the comedian whose shows I once watched with great pleasure became a president. I guess that 15 years from now, clowns will rule the world and everyone will consider it normal. Although I think I'm an apolitical person. I had never imagined that such a thing was even possible. I've recently met my friends from the past. They are already over 30. Many of them have families and children, and I realized that after all, my biological age froze together with me. Children and teenagers are closer to me than adult men and women. My sister says that I am lost in time. Now I am a stranger to both my peers and modern teens. $15,000 slipped through my fingers in a month in the modern world. without ever making me happy. If I could take the time back, then probably I would have refused to be frozen. I believe that a person should live in his or her time, in his or her era, and not jump over decades like I did. It is morally difficult. Would you like to be frozen for 10 to 15 years? You can share your answers in the comments below this video. Click the thumbs up button and subscribe to our channel.